Today, on the Global AI Policy Podcast, we're discussing a new report published just yesterday by Anthropic on the impact of AI on the labor market. So we're jumping right into the meat of this for today's deep dive. Our mission is to basically take what Anthropic found and contrast it with, frankly, the absolute bloodbath of tech layoffs we've been watching unfold over the last few years. Because the report paints this incredibly calm picture, but the data on the ground, it feels completely different.
Yeah, it really does. And the anchor of this report is a metric they call observed exposure. So they're mapping the gap between what large language models can theoretically achieve right now and how much they're actually being integrated into daily corporate workflows.
Right, so the tech is ready, but enterprise adoption is kind of lagging way behind the hype, which I guess explains why Anthropic found very limited evidence of systemic AI-driven unemployment so far. The tools just aren't really plugged into the core corporate infrastructure yet.
Exactly. I mean, they did flag one highly specific warning sign, though. Hiring rates for workers aged 22 to 25 dropped by 14% in heavily exposed fields.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so think junior developers, entry-level data analysts, customer service. Companies aren't necessarily firing their junior staff en masse right now, but the pipeline for new talent has severely tightened.
Let's see, that Anthropic data makes sense in a vacuum, but it's just really hard to swallow when you look at the wider tech sector. I mean, in 2025 alone, we saw 1.17 million job cuts. That's a peak we haven't hit since 2020.
Right, and Challenger, Gray, and Christmas explicitly pin nearly 55,000 of those U.S. layoffs directly on AI.
The scale is staggering. You've got Microsoft cutting 15,000 jobs, claiming a need to restructure for the AI era. Amazon eliminated 14,000 corporate roles to run leaner. But the most extreme case might be Jack Dorsey's Block.
Yeah, they cut 4,000 people, which was nearly 40% of their staff.
And Block had incredibly strong profits. So this wasn't some desperate cost-cutting measure to save a sinking ship. Dorsey essentially argued that AI tools let them completely rewrite their operational playbook. But I have a hard time believing they just plugged in a new model and it magically replaced 4,000 engineers and product managers overnight. Are we sure we aren't taking these executive statements a bit too much at face value?
No, you're right to be skeptical of the timeline. The infrastructure to replace 40% of a company doesn't just materialize in a single fiscal quarter. Block is aggressively deploying AI-assisted coding tools, which drastically cuts down QA time. So a senior developer with an AI copilot can now do the work of a whole team of juniors. But the immediate implementation is likely being overstated to mask a totally different reality.
Which brings us to Fabian Stephanie from the Oxford Internet Institute. He argues we are looking at a massive case of misdirection. During the pandemic, tech companies went on this unprecedented hiring spree. Now they are facing immense market pressure to correct those numbers.
Precisely. Look at the market mechanics. Wall Street currently rewards almost any mention of AI integration. If a company announces mass layoffs due to slowing growth, their stock tanks.
But if they frame it around AI,
Exactly. Frame those exact same layoffs as a strategic restructuring to invest in their AI future, and the market reacts positively.
so instead of a CEO going to shareholders and admitting they completely miscalculated their growth models 3 years ago, they just point to the technology. Blaming AI for mass layoffs serves as this perfect forward-looking scapegoat.
It signals to investors that the company is innovating and running a modern, lean operation, even if the primary goal is really just trimming executive bloat from the pandemic era.
So if you were sitting in one of these highly exposed roles right now, say, aiming for a junior programming spot, the immediate threat isn't a robot taking your desk tomorrow. The real threat is a market-wide hiring freeze that keeps you from getting your foot in the door, while companies use AI as a smokescreen for internal restructuring. You aren't being replaced, you're just not being recruited.
Which leaves you with a critical long-term consideration. If AI is currently just a convenient excuse for pandemic overhiring and enterprise adoption is still in its infancy, what happens to the labor market when that observed exposure gap actually closes? What happens when AI reaches its full theoretical capability and is deeply integrated into every corporate system?
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks, Anita, for sharing this report with us. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Global AI Policy Podcast. Until next time.